Hello, good evening. See if you could let me know if you can hear me okay. I'll go ahead and get started talking about this FRQ grading form that we got here. Cool. Okay. So this form will really change what it's like to grade FRQs and that really the lack of grading FRQs that you will be doing at home and the student involvement with that. So let me get this going here and we'll jump right into it. All right. Sorry, just one second, get my screen all set up here. Okay. So again, the major goals of this is to reduce the amount of grading for the teacher and to really increase student accountability. This whole process where students are going to come into the classroom and write an FRQ, grade it, they're actually going to grade it twice, and then leave takes about 50 minutes. So that's usually a normal class period, and there should be very little that needs to be done after or even really before that. So this is the form that that we're looking at here. Let me put my screen on full size here. There we go, that's better. So this is the form, and I'm going to share the form too. It is a front and back, and students will be writing on that bottom portion of the form and grading it kind of on the top portion. So this just needs to be printed as a front and back. Let's see, so I'm going to kind of jump here before class. So what you would need to do before class is to identify a prompt that you want the students to write. And that can be any of the released FRQ questions, or you can write one yourself as long as it has 10 identifiable components that the students are going to be looking at for grading. You're going to print one in-class essay form for each student, and then you're going to print a class set of the essays that they're going to be reading. So I'm going to go ahead and let's this out here. Okay, so this is the essay that I chose, and so that's what you would do ahead of time is go ahead and number that for your class set. So that would be like a 1 through 30. Let's see if I can turn back out of this. There we go. All right, so number these ahead of time, 1 through 30. I just did 2 here as an example. And then this is the form that students would pick up as they're coming into class. And so what I usually just did is the schedule I was working on, every Wednesday was a 50-minute period. And I saw all the students, so every Wednesday we did an FRQ. So they would come in, as they were coming in, they grab one of these forms, and the essays themselves I would hold at the front of the class so that they couldn't start until we all started together. So the students are going to come in and grab one of these. And so I'm going to fill this out as we go so you can see what it looks like, because this form seems like it's going to be kind of confusing, but once you get going, it's really not that bad. So I'm going to write my name on this. And let's say I'm in class period 1 and I got essay form number 1. So that's how I would fill it out as a student. And then that student's not going to fill out anything else on the top portion of this. I'm going to do another student just so you can kind of see what it looks like once you get a stack of them. So all right. Sorry, I misspoke just a tiny bit. So the students are going to fill out their number all the way down the side of the form. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So myself as a student, I'm going to put my name, my class period, and then I'm going to fill out number 1 all the way down because that's the essay that I would have gotten. So as a student, I'm sitting here now with my essay that says number 1 and my essay form, and I've filled out number 1 all the way through. And I'm going to begin writing. So you can have the students write, timed at about 20 minutes. to complete their essay. So here's my student that's sitting next to me, named Dave. They have class grade 1, and they filled out number 2 all the way down the side of that document because they are number 2 here. So they're going to go ahead and fill that out, taking about 20 minutes to do so. And then you're going to collect all of those forms. It's important that the students keep the essay because they might need to go back and reference it again. So they're going to keep this next to them, but they're all going to pass up these forms to the front of the classroom. And then as a teacher, and also students will get really good at doing this and they love to help out, so it does go pretty fast. You'll stack these forms all together and you're going to cut the top off. So at the this line right here is a little dotted line, and that's what's going to be cut off. It's important when passing out the essays, the numbered essays, to not pass them out in order, because you don't want students to be able to count. I see Dave sitting here at number 1 seat. That means number 5 seat is going to be Melissa. I know I have Melissa's paper. So it has to be randomized how you pass those numbered essays out, so they can't, go back and figure out whose they have. But so they'll pass them forward, and then you're going to cut this top part off. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, now as a teacher, you're going to keep these all in the front. So these all have the students' names and what essay form they had. And you're going to keep these. They're going to be in a crazy order. They're not going to be numbered correctly. But again, students love putting them in order, and you usually have a student who's really efficient who can do that for you. So you shouldn't have to spend a lot of time reordering those. So that's the first thing you hold on to. Now, the students will have written their essays on the bottom portion here. They can also write on the bottom portion of the back, but they can't write any sort of essay up here. It won't get counted. So all of their writing is going to occur in the bottom here. Now you're going to sort them up, mix them up, and then repass them out to the students. As a grader, everybody needs to get a paper. It's always going to come out evenly. If everyone writes one, everyone should get one. And they're going to put their name here where it says grader's name. So that first grader is going to write their name there. So I'm going to just call them grader 1 and grader 2. They're going to write their names there. Now, for this portion, it's also going to take about 20 minutes to go through how to grade the essay. So this is where, let me go ahead and share the screen again here. It should pop up right now. Okay. So this is where they are going to use this document. And these are available for all of the FRQs, as well as you could make your own. I would project this for the students as they're grading, and this is going to take some time. I'd really encourage them to ask a lot of questions as what counts. So as they go through, they're looking for question 1A. They're supposed to describe one environmental advantage of producing food locally and accept one of the following. So if the student says any of those things, and they're going to ask a lot of questions, really encourage that. Does this count? Or the one I'm grading says this, does that work? And they're going to keep track of points as they go. A tip, don't let them make any sort of mark or tally or anything on the actual wording of the essay. And the reason for that is if I'm a student and I'm grading and I'm ticking off when I see points, when we regrade it again in a second with another student, that student's just gonna say, oh, the first grader gave them 8, I'm just gonna give them 8, and I'm not gonna be involved. So no grader writing down here at all. This is just gonna be the student essay. I have them, they can either tick off points here, so as they get 1 point, 2 point, 3 points as they go, kind of adding it up that way, or they can count like on their hand or a separate piece of paper, and then they're gonna give a final score up here. So they're gonna circle it, and then in the comments, I really encourage students to write where they missed something. So they could say, you were supposed to say, there's an imbalance of CO2 that was created, some actual fact, not just write more or write clearer or something like that that's not really going to help students out. So it's really important for them to say like a fact about why they missed it. in order to help them kind of grow with this content as they're going. Okay, so after they go ahead and grade it, they've left a comment and they've scored it, their name is on there, so you know who did what and who scored that. They're gonna pass it forward again. So you're gonna recollect those and you're gonna cut that again at this second line right here. Sort those again. All right, so now you have, as a teacher on the front, you have another pile of papers. So this is gonna be, let me stop sharing screen, seems to be bigger. Okay, so you're gonna have these up in the front now and they're going to be graded. So let's say they gave like a 6 and then this student got a, say they gave them like a 3. So you've got those all up in the front and you can see them. And it has the grader's name, so you know what they gave them and if they gave a good comment. So you're gonna hold on to those. Again, they're gonna be out of order, but have a student put those in order for you while you're passing things out, cutting things. It does go very quickly. You're gonna then repass these out, again, randomly sorted. Have students, if they get the same one, which is very unlikely, just have them trade with the person next to them to make sure they have another new one. If nothing was written down here by the first grader, then the second grader needs to pay attention and go through it detail by detail again. And so continue to have everything projected and go through every point again. But this time it should go much faster because the students kind of learned it the first time around. They know what the answers are. So they're gonna be a lot quicker as they grade this one. So this should take closer to maybe 10 minutes for them to go over this. And then they're gonna pass it forward. So I'm gonna go ahead and write these graders on here again. Number 1, number 2, and let's say they gave them. All right, so they're gonna go ahead and pass these forward with their comments. Now, at the front of the classroom, you're gonna sort these all back together. So by putting them in order for their numbers, so now this is 1, 2, back in order, we'll order these 1 and then 2. And again, it would go from like 1 to 32, depending on how many students you had in your class. And then the last one, 1 and 2. And then you're gonna put them in order. So I'll have grader 1 here and staple them back together. So it should look like this once it's stapled. So this was my essay. It has my name. From the outside here, you can't see a score, which is good because as you're passing these back to students, no one's going to be sort of embarrassed about what they got or have it exposed to other students. So it is kind of confidential to them as you're passing it back. And then they can flip it open. They can see who graded theirs first and what they got. And they can see who graded them second and what they got on that score. And so for the students, they can see they should have 2 really good comments as to what they could have done to improve their score. And as a teacher, before you pass them back, you're going to be recording your students' scores. So as a teacher, when you get these back, you're gonna take a look at the scores. And so for this one, we got a 6 and a 4. Obviously, if they line up, I call it good and put that in the grade book. If they're 1 off, or 2 off, you can go in the middle, and this is up to you kind of in what you want to do. So if this is a 6 and a 4, you could give this student a 5 and move on. And I always tell students that if they want to contest it, feel free to bring it back to me and I will grade it personally. If they disagree with why they got it, they got to tell me why they think that it was off. But I will go ahead and go back and grade those for them if they want me to. So if it's just 1 off or maybe 2 off, we'll give them, you know, in the middle and go ahead and grade it. So as a teacher, you just took a quick look at this and then you can pass it back. So that's going to really save you a lot of time. But let's see, for our second one here, Dave is going to get his back. And for his, the first grader gave him a 3 and the second grader gave him a 9. And this is where you have to bring in the accountability for the graders. So for students, this can be participation points in the class, or this can go back and reflect on their essay grade. If they were just not maybe they knew it was their friend's essay and they just threw a 9 in there hoping that they could help their friend out. Or maybe they just really didn't understand going over the essay answers. Either way, they should be held accountable for making that. So I always told students if they were off by more than 1 on this, then that was going to go ahead and affect their essay grade, and I was going to pull their essay and mark it down because it showed me that they didn't understand the prompt. By making them accountable for this, it wasn't a problem. Students did a very, very good job and tried really, really hard to grade it accurately. And in a class of about 30, I'd say I had maybe 2 that I had to grade myself at the end of every class. And it was only usually because they were off by like 2 or 3. I very rarely saw like a 3 and a 9 like this one. That would be very unusual, if the students are really committed and trying this part. Yeah, so it works really well. And overall then, if you have 5 class periods, you're grading maybe 10 FRQs at the end of the day instead of massive amounts of them. So it really, really saves a ton of time. And the more important thing, I think, is that it brings in that student accountability and they understand what the graders are looking for when they're going to actually be in the AP test. So they know in their head to count to 10, that they're trying to get to 10 points. So they have to say 10 facts. And so as they start to write the FRQs, they start to look at what they've got down, and they can probably guess right after they've got it done. Yeah, I think I got an 8 because I didn't know this thing or this thing. And so I think I missed 2 points there. But over time, towards the end of the year, once they do this once a week, they'll really have it down as far as what the graders are going to be looking for and what they need to do. So this form in general, I feel like saves a ton of time for teachers. I feel like it really, really builds student involvement. I like that it doesn't show the student grades as it comes back. And it helps them learn too, because they can see exactly why they missed certain things and they should have those facts there and build that up. So that is what I was going to go over for the in-class grading form. I know that this is sort of a faster stream, but I think this form is awesome and it will really help out. You can bring it into other AP classes or really any sort of writing or prompt that has 10 points. The form can be adjusted to have a different amount of points in there. The biggest thing with this form is to not adjust the lines, obviously, because you don't want to get it mixed up so that when you cut it, it's cutting people's names off or things like that. But see if there's Joshua, if you had any questions. Cool, awesome. I'm glad that it can help you out, and maybe some people will watch the stream a little bit later too and pick it up. I think I didn't invent this form. Someone gave it to me and it was a game changer for me. So I just want to share it with as many people as I can because it's huge. Any questions about how to use it in a classroom or logistics of it or anything? The cutting it part seems kind of stressful in the first time you do it, but I think it picks up really fast, and you always have those kids that like to sit right in the front and they want to help and they'll sort it for you, and really it runs itself. It's very, very cool. Awesome. Okay, well then I'm going to cut this short because there's not much more to go over, but thanks for joining. Hopefully other people will watch and find it useful too. Thanks.